Hey guys, I'd like to welcome you to the Kortex Media Podcast, where we navigate the fast-paced world of automotive and more. I'm your host, Korson Schmidt, founder at Kortex Media, a growth partner helping automotive companies grow by creating custom growth plans tailored to hit their goals. Today, I'm speaking with Chris Kolb, a founder, leader, and builder with a lifelong drive to turn tough problems into real solutions. As a co-founder of HUM Rideshare, Chris has brought his years of startup experience to create a rideshare platform where drivers and riders both win. From inventing roles to create ends meet during college, to scaling early-stage companies through grit and creativity, his path has been shaped by action, competitive athletics, and learning from success and failures alike. Chris focuses on creating value when systems fall short and inspiring those around him to aim higher and work harder. It's great to have you on, Chris.
Thanks for having me, Korson.
Hey, no worries. So let's first start things off by diving into your background. After years of working in different corners of tech and startups, what truly drove you to become an entrepreneur, and what was the inspiration behind HUM itself?
I've always loved getting creative and acting on, new creative ideas. I think what really flipped the switch for me was actually in college. Before college, I was working a retail job and, took a lot of pride in my work, really loved it. And as I'm going out to college, I needed some way to make money. And, I didn't want to just go in and, kind of go run of the mill types of, like busing or waiting tables or anything like that. I wanted something more unique. And, I had worked with this retail company and, noticed that there was one specific product that we sold a lot of, and went to the owner of that product and said, hey, I think I can do some sales for you guys out in the state of Arizona. And he took to it, said, okay, great, we'll front you some product. You just pay us wholesale, you keep the difference. And so, I did that. I set up some sales meetings, if you will, and we'll never forget the rush of my first sale. And it was kind of at that moment that I knew that we can kind of do whatever we want in this life, and ventured off to startup land, Silicon Valley afterwards, for about 9 years, and over there, got to work with some really wonderful teams as well, incredible senior founders, learn a lot from them. And just found that it was the time for me to venture off and start working on my own side projects, and one of those eventually became HUM.
For sure, that's awesome. Do you mind giving a quick high-level overview on the services you guys offer at HUM, just so the audience has an idea on who you guys are, what you offer, etc.?
Yeah, HUM is essentially just an app that enables rideshare drivers to go independent. We enable rideshare drivers to go direct to consumer in the same way of if you're shopping on Amazon, you find a product that you like and you love, the next time you buy it might not be through Amazon. You might see that they've got a better deal on their website when you go directly to their brand site. And that's what we do. We're like the Shopify of rideshare, whereas Uber and Lyft are the Amazons of rideshare. Our drivers keep 100% of their fares. They pay a monthly flat rate subscription to our company to access, commercial insurance, technology support that they need to operate independently of Uber and Lyft. And our passengers get to benefit pretty mightily as well, because they get access to private drivers, people they know and they trust, to drive them specifically. So if you're using rideshare to get to work every day, to get to the office, if you're going to the airport, multiple times a week, HUM's the perfect place for you, because you know what your price is going to be. It's not going to fluctuate based on time of the day. It's not a roll of the dice who your driver is. We give you that consistency to ride with who you want over and over and over again.
For sure. It's a great product, great idea what you guys have, especially for the people that can't afford a vehicle right now. They don't want to buy a vehicle because they don't get out often. They have their driver, they can go back and forth, do the things they need to, and build a relationship with that driver as well, keeping it friendly, and convenient for the driver and the passenger itself. You also, super rare to have the drivers keep 100% of their fares. What impact have you noticed it having on the driver community itself?
Oh, massive. I mean, we have our drivers are earning a full month's of like average rideshare income in only 5 days worth of driving.
Wow.
There's been, Reddit posts going viral over the past couple of weeks of drivers trying to figure out how much they have to work to earn $2,000 in 1 week. And these guys are working themselves to their core. They're driving for 80 hours in 1 week in 7 days. And they're just getting to 2,000. Like, one of these guys actually only got to 1,500 over 80 hours, and he put on a couple thousand miles on his car. And if it weren't for tips and it weren't for, him working himself to the bone and getting like another $200 bonus from whatever rideshare platform that was, he wouldn't have gotten there. But these guys are doing that in 130 to 150 trips. Our drivers can do that in less than 100 trips and, do it in fewer trips. They're able to do this. They're able to earn a whole lot more working a whole lot less. So the driver community loves it. There's been a huge narrative lately among drivers about going independent. There's drivers all over the country right now who are going independent. They're having conversations with their passengers about, how much a passenger's paying and how much they're actually earning. And, the delta's, typically so large that the passenger just says, "Hey man, you mind if I Venmo you instead?" And, that's what I mean about them going independent. However, that's not really the safe way of going about it. Those drivers who go independent oftentimes don't get a commercial insurance policy, which means if there was an accident to occur, a lot of people are going to be left in trouble. So,
for sure,
the community loves it. There's a broader narrative out there, and HUM really fits right there with the two. And so,
sure.
Yeah, we love our drivers here. They love us. They actually help lead a lot of what we do on the platform.
For sure. With some of those drivers, because the one thing you mentioned to me prior to the podcast were that your drivers are earning $5,000 in under 100 trips. What are some of the stories of your drivers that have really stood out in changing the lives of these drivers and how it's really impacted HUM itself?
There's two guys that come to mind most immediately, and they had both shared their stories with me maybe after being with us for about a year. One of these guys, his name's Dave. He's a driver in Arizona. They're both drivers in Arizona, actually. But Dave had been driving with us for a little bit. Dave's a hockey guy. He loves playing hockey. He actually lost a leg, but he still gets out there on the ice. I'd imagine. Yeah, he's pretty awesome. But he drives. Dave had an accident where his voice was left with like a slur. So he has this permanent slur in his voice, and unfortunately, on Uber and Lyft, he was deactivated from Uber and Lyft because people thought he was a drunk driver. And once deactivated on those platforms, the remediation process is so difficult. It's near impossible to speak with a real human. Getting reactivated is oftentimes an endless journey that takes you nowhere. And
sure. Dave
was a full-time driver. So suddenly overnight, his primary source of income shut off. And HUM, he then just heard of HUM. He checked it out. Dave started working with us and just started doing trips that we were delivering within the rideshare marketplace of the app. And bit by bit, kept sort of, getting more and more trips, but then kind of started to build a personal book of business with clientele who just genuinely liked him. He's an awesome guy, a great human. He has a family. He's a family man. And, when he shared this story, I don't know who was closer to being in tears, whether it was him or me, but he said that he thanked us because he said he didn't know what he was going to do. He was going to be stuck, and he was nervous about his future. And, Dave just wants to do a few trips each day. He just wants to make enough money to cover his bills and play hockey. And he gets exactly that with HUM.
That's awesome.
And then another guy had been driving with Uber and Lyft for a while, former engineer, actually a really intelligent engineer, but saw rideshare as an awesome opportunity to kind of like advance into retirement a little bit quicker, because early days of rideshare, people were making a lot of money. And so he said, great, let's do this. And he makes some good money, but as every driver knows, over the years, earnings have just been on a steady decline, while inflation's been sky high. So, as your earnings are dropping and not keeping up with just the cost of goods and the cost of living outside of your house, you're into a lot of trouble. And Brian had shared that before HUM, he was on the verge of losing his house and losing his car.
Wow.
And he wasn't sure what he was going to do, because he was in an industry that showed him a lot of promise, but the dust had settled. Now he sees that he's not able to keep up in it. And so he finds HUM, and similar to Dave, starts doing a couple trips on the app. He's still driving with Uber and Lyft as well. But he starts to sort of allocate more time to HUM. He starts meeting passengers who really love riding with him and start using him 3, 4, 5 times a week. And Brian specifically built up a really strong private book of business with private clientele. And, he didn't just save his car payment, but, was able to stay on top of his mortgage. And, after a couple of months of then, building his book of business and working with us, he's doing better than he ever has. So
that's amazing. There's
been some cool stories. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, when you can bring people in and change their life, giving them a platform to kind of, especially with Dave, it'd be tough for him to work any other job. If he can drive people around, conversate, and speak to people, and that's what he enjoys, you guys give him that option that he can do that as his daily job to play hockey. As a Canadian, that's awesome. I love that he's doing that. That's freaking sweet. But to give that platform, that availability, and that foundation to kind of start their own thing, instead of getting fed up into all these other platforms, they get to start their own thing and then build a relationship with their customers, with their clients, and turn it into something that they truly want to do, instead of just getting a notification, hey, you have to drive here or you have to drive there. They get to build their own reputation and their own business at the same time. I just want to go back to a little bit more on your background. So you've worked in sales, you've worked in tech, and now you're kind of more in a leadership role. What skills from your early career have proved most valuable now as a founder, part of HUM?
So a lot of my background has been in sales. Been fortunate enough to work with some really early startups and really early brands as well, where we've been able to take ideas to market, new ideas to market. One time we actually took an idea that turned into being a multi-million-dollar business that was housed under another company we worked with. So I've learned a lot over the time. I think there's a couple ways to dice it, but number one, I always grew up thinking, believing, and learning that sales is everything. You're going to find sales in every type of job you're in, whether it is, of course, like marketing, whether it is recruitment, launching your own company, business development. I mean, heck, even in engineering in some regard, right? You got to sell your ideas and your concepts to other people.
For sure.
And that alone has helped me tremendously when it comes to like finding and creating connection with people, but also, you know, getting our idea out there and making sure that it resonates with folks. You know, for us specifically, making sure it resonates with drivers, making sure it resonates with riders. The big difference here is that, you know, with actually launching a startup, you know, like HUM, you're wearing all 20 hats that you need to wear. You know, I've been fortunate enough where, you know, in even some of the earliest startups I worked in the past, I at least had some other folks around me, right? And
Bounce ideas off.
yeah, I have a co-founder here, and that's tremendous. And we have some, you know, additional help and contract work and advisors. We're actually extremely blessed with the advising team that we have today. But, you know, today it's wearing the support hat as well as the business development and partnerships hat. It's also planning for new development, you know, new features that we need to build, testing those out, getting feedback before you even launch them. So, you know, the nice thing about sales is sales can be extremely chaotic at times. You know, maybe you're scrambling at the end of the quarter or the end of the year. You know, maybe you're leading a sales team and it's, you know, essentially the same thing, except you're trying to scramble 12 people instead of just yourself.
Yeah.
You know, that chaos certainly helps a whole lot in a startup environment. So, yeah, always loved working in the startups prior because it is pretty chaotic. I never cared about, you know, punching a timesheet and you know, just going about a very predictable day. It's never been me. I like a little bit of unknown when I wake up in the morning, and I've got an idea of what I need to accomplish. But, you know, getting stuck in some crossfire of you know, whether it be support tickets or you know, whatever comes up in the day of the life is pretty exciting as well.
For sure, for sure. No, it's fun. It's problem solving. It's challenging. It's like you said, wearing different hats all the time. Startups are fun. They're challenging. They make you think differently than just your regular 9 to 5, obviously, and that's what you enjoy of it. You want to challenge. You want to move forward. You want to see something take its steps up, and you might take steps back, but you just try to keep building up and keep moving forward. And yeah, totally true. Totally fun. As you see HUM moving forward, as it scales, and building that quality team around you, what are some of those qualities that you look for in team members, and how do you foster such a strong culture around HUM to bring those quality partners or team members into HUM?
Yeah. I really like, I enjoy taking kind of a non-traditional approach, you know, to, you know, hiring and finding team members. You know, there's no shortage of talent out there in the world. It's really easy, you know, if you want to find a marketing generalist or a recruiting specialist or talent development directors, right? You can get really specialized and find some really incredible people in every type of role out there. And that's great. And there's a place for all of those folks. But, you know, I think especially in the early days, like, you need to find someone who can wear as many hats as you can wear. I don't care about finding someone who has all the answers as much as I'm more interested in finding someone who's willing to learn, willing to ask questions, and is going to work hard. I do think that, like, hard work will outpace having a, you know, perfect idea. I think ideas are kind of cheap, but execution is what's most expensive and tough to find. I've always enjoyed just finding people who sometimes it's an athletics background. I know that those people understand this, like, value of hard work and trusting the process along the way, and kind of being able to see, all right, if I want to achieve Y outcome, I need to do X amount of work along the way, and if they don't achieve that outcome, they're willing to pivot and make adjustments. So people who are willing to wear multiple hats, people who think outside the box, those are some of my favorite, and people who are just quick to act. I think quick action is really the toughest thing to find these days.
I like at the beginning you said you want people that are going to execute work and that are good at problem solving. They want to figure the problem out. They want to execute that problem. Instead of being good at what they're doing, they want to learn. And that kind of linked me to where you started off, because you started off in college trying to find your way to make money and move things forward, and you had to problem solve, you had to figure it out, and then you got in the startup world. It's the same thing. You were kind of wearing different hats, figuring out where you want to be. You were problem solving. So great point. You're just looking for more of you at the end of the day, which I totally agree with you though. At that point though, is you need to find people that will execute. You can find someone that's a master at what they do. They're the best at what they do, but if they don't have the drive because they've mastered it already, they don't have the work ethic to put it into aspect. It's just like being the best hockey player, but you don't have a work ethic and you kind of just float around. You're not going to be the best player in the world. It's the same if you put it into business aspect as well.
Totally. And I think there's also, I think there's also, maybe to use hockey as an example here, you can't have a team of just forwards, right? Like you need to have a goalie, right? And I think it's important to continue meeting people and seeing how other people work, because a lot of the times you might not even know what you don't know, and there are lots of gaps. You don't want to just hire people who are like you, because then you're going to have a bunch of goalies or a bunch of forwards. And,
Fair enough.
You start missing the point of what a team is. And so it's important to kind of be able to identify different styles of thinking, how people approach problems. Find people who approach problems the same way as you over and over. What uniqueness is there to the team? So there's diversity of thought that I think is a key for any startup to have, for sure. And if everyone favors or is biased towards action, even better.
For sure. No, I like that you pointed that in, because great point. I'm not even going to expand on it. You explained it perfectly. Moving into the industry itself, with autonomous vehicles kind of on the horizon, we don't know when they've started coming, but we don't really have a clear vision on when they're going to make a big push for them. How do you think self-driving cars could change the landscape for the drivers and the customers in a rideshare program like HUM that you guys offer?
Yeah, good question. I mean, there's a lot of ways to look into this one, but first and foremost, we have about 10 years until autonomous vehicles and human drivers, or robot or human and machine, are splitting the amount of trips by 50-50. Until then, the human driver is kind of the owner of the market. Today, the unit economics still favor a human driver. However, I think where there's a will, there's a way, and unit economics is not really like an argument to say, hey, we're going to have human drivers forever. I think that's kind of a joke when you think about just how innovative we are. And when we have a desire to make something happen, we make it happen. So I think the unit economics are going to favor the robot. But what a lot of people forget in this matter is that car ownership is on the decline. Gen Z doesn't own cars like millennials do, and millennials don't really care about driving like the boomers do, or the baby boomers do. And what that means is that the demand for ride hailing is actually continuing to grow and grow. ride hailing on itself isn't going anywhere. In fact, it's just becoming a more prominent part of our daily life. And that humans alone right now, I mean, it's a good thing machines coming, because humans alone wouldn't be able to satisfy all of that demand as it continues to grow. And similarly, there's not enough robots to satisfy all that demand. And so we have like 10 years until there's this tipping point where human and machine, begin to like truly coexist. We're going to start seeing, Waymos, for example, in markets that are more prone to diverse weather. Phoenix is pretty predictable. LA, Austin, for the most part, pretty predictable. But, seeing those in places like Denver, where, you do have a cold winter. Mind you, the ice or the snow melts after like 30 minutes downtown. It is pretty exciting to see that happen. The other unknown is who's going to dominate the autonomous market. In the case of Waymo, we have commercially owned fleets. But in the case of Tesla, which people are starting to hear more and more about, you have a consumer-owned vehicle. And what we don't know is whether more vehicles on the street are going to be commercially owned or consumer-owned. And I think that's a really important piece, because in a consumer-owned scenario, if consumer-owned dominates the space, you're going to be using your car to oftentimes work for you when you're not using it, because
for sure.
Not like some people don't drive rideshare because they just say, oh, it's I don't feel safe doing it, or I don't feel safe doing it. I don't want to have strangers in my car. I don't want to put myself in that scenario. But when you own an autonomous vehicle and you're working at the office or you're going to sleep, it doesn't hurt you to let your car go out of your driveway, pick up a few people, drop them off, right, and make some money for you.
Kind of scary, honestly. Imagine you come home from work, you're like, okay, work's done, tell your car to go, leaves, starts picking people up, dropping them off, and you're like, it's working. But it's smart. I guess, why wouldn't you? It's making passive income while you're not using it.
Yeah. I mean, people are chasing passive income today, so there's an opportunity for it right there. So I think what Tesla's racked up the most miles of testing, more than Waymo, more than any other robo-taxi company. So they do have a lot of knowledge under their belt. Where we are positioning ourselves is, we're obviously a very driver-centric company. We're a very user-centric company. But that doesn't mean that we can't, if a passenger wants to have a robot pick them up, that's fine. We don't need to replace a driver. We can allow other robo-taxis to access our network and pick up the demand. What we bring to the table is a network, and what other robo-taxis or autonomous vehicle companies bring to the table is the machine. And so those need to be married up. Tesla wants to marry up the two under their own umbrella. Waymo's marrying up in other partnerships. So there's a lot of dust to settle in the space, but we're excited to be part of it. We're excited to give drivers a place to still flourish until the robotic future is even more prevalent. So we've got a lot of time, but it's exciting, to say the least.
For sure. Yeah, it's definitely something that's super exciting to look into. It's super exciting to wait for as well. Like, we've been hearing all about electric vehicles, all about autonomous vehicles. It's kind of been on a standstill, but I feel like, what Waymo has kind of started, Tesla's kind of started. But we always thought it was going to move much quicker than it did. So I love that you have an opinion on it. You have kind of navigated that landscape and what it's going to look like for HUM itself and for the services that these rideshare companies are offering as well. So it's super cool that I got to get your knowledge on that. And back to what you said if you guys have if someone wants an autonomous vehicle, it's back to the service of the client. It's about making sure that customer gets picked up, are happy, they get dropped off, are happy, keeping it cheap, affordable for the customer.
Totally.
Just shows how much you care about your customers, care about your drivers, to make sure everyone's happy using the HUM platform. So I think that was a great point that you brought up there. With AI, huge word of 2025, biggest thing, only thing we've heard about all year pretty much. How are you guys leveraging that to help your companies? Are you using it to optimize routes for your clients themselves, kind of predict demand, sometimes to personalize the customer experience? How are you guys leveraging that to look out for your drivers, look out for your riders, or just internally in HUB as well?
Yeah, I mean, internally we're using it all over. There's, it's a coworker that only costs you, a couple of dollars a month. It's a very efficient, very quick coworker as well, that kind of already knows everything. So we use it internally all over. We use it in a few internal workflows, but as we actually create new products and features as well, we use it in some like externally focused areas too. We're currently building an entirely new platform, which is extremely AI centric as well, so that we can optimize communications between rider and driver. We can predict rider behavior as well as driver behavior. We can use it for optimized routing, especially with prearranged trips, predicting demand based on user data that we have and based on, local events that are occurring in any market that we're within, as opposed to being so reactive. So, the direction of HUM is, I think we're created at a very unique time, because as we go into like redevelopment mode right now, we're able to kind of go 10 steps further than we ever were able to prior,
For sure.
Yeah, we get to bake all of this into a new platform, and make sure that passenger, driver, and us internally, we want to be efficient with, getting everybody's, if it's a support ticket solved or issues solved, we want to make sure, we're really quickly on top of that too. So, I think we're pretty uniquely positioned at the time we were built to achieve a whole lot. And, us as a companion app as well, really, for drivers, right, that helps them go independent.
For sure.
There's directions that, we're not really prepared to announce now, but directions that the company is going to go in terms of adding more value to the driver in their daily life. That is going to be extremely AI efficient for them as well. So you'll see more of that over the next couple of years as well.
Awesome. Yeah, that was going to be my next question. Where is HUM headed? What are some of the new markets, new products, new partnerships, etc.? But I don't want you to expand too much on it. What are some of those main? Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say we're actually opening up in San Diego, California, pretty soon here. So we are approved for all of the state of California. So we'll be making a few expansions throughout a few markets out there. We also love the Mountain West, so areas like Salt Lake City are coming up very soon too. Denver, Colorado, and then we do need to move east. So you'll see that happening as well, probably next year. We're building out a suite of new features to help the drivers. Again, HUM is here to help drivers go independent, and we need to make it as convenient for them as possible to be able to service their customers, make sure that they're getting as many trips as possible to justify working with HUM, and not just justify, but flourish on HUM. So we're putting together, suites of features that'll help along the way, with drivers, essentially operating their business, owning the back end of their business. And one of the exciting partnerships that we're going to announce is actually with another companion app, who unfortunately I'm not able to say the name of yet because we haven't announced it, but they're another companion app that provides for drivers analytics to understand, their own driving behavior so they can lean into their, highest earning hours, lean into their highest earning jobs at the right times and such. And so we're really excited to announce that one because, we certainly share the same customer base, and I think the partnership is actually going to expand much further down the road. So, more to come on that. But San Diego expansion is happening now. So, if you're a driver in San Diego, do sign up, download the app, get ready. We're excited to be out there.
That's amazing. Always looking out for the customer, or your clients, I guess you would call them, the drivers themselves, looking out for the drivers, making sure that they're happy. Like the analytics that you guys are bringing in, I'm not going to talk more about that. I'll let you kind of take that when the announcement comes. But what is the big vision that you guys have for HUM? Where do you guys want to take the company? What is the main goal at the end of the line for HUM?
Yeah, I mean, end of the day, I think we're not here to replace anybody. We're here to be a viable third option for everybody to use. Like I said, we're kind of a companion app for drivers, and what we're enabling is the ability for a driver to go direct to consumer. And it's a massive market, but ultimately, like, we're not here for the casual rideshare driver who just wants to sign up and drive for 1 week out of the month to make maybe meet their bills or whatever it may be. We're here for the serious driver who takes driving seriously, who looks at driving as a primary source of income for them, and gig work as a primary source of income on the whole. And those are the folks we're working with. And these are the folks who take care of their cars, they take care of their customers, and they're looking for something more. There's Uber and Lyft created a wonderful sandbox of like opportunity, but unfortunately, like, all the gold in this has been mined up. You've got more drivers on the road than ever before. You now have robo taxis on the road that are seemingly a threat for a number of drivers. And the opportunity that drivers have now is to start going independent. And, Uber and Lyft are going to continue operating tremendously. They're going to still be massive companies, just like Amazon is. But what we're doing is, like, we're creating that Shopify of rideshare so these drivers can operate independent of those big players. They're able to now work directly with their customers. So, for me, what I see the future as is, maybe you use Uber and Lyft on occasion if it's a late night, or, you don't really care about who your driver is. It's something rather casual and convenient. But, for the individual who cares about who their driver is, they want to know who's behind the wheel. They want maybe an extra level of safety and security. They want an extra level of personalization. They want a tailored ride experience. They want someone that they personally know and trust. They're coming to HUM because they know who their driver is on HUM. So when they have their recurring trip, whether it's airport, whether it's to and from work, whether it's a doctor's appointment, they go to HUM, right? And they ride with their favorite driver or drivers each time. And so my vision for this is you're going to see us in all 50 states. You're going to see an international expansion. That might be coming sooner than later as well. And people are going to know the HUM name as the place they go when they want to know their driver. Amazing.
Breaking that main goal down into smaller steps. What do those smaller steps look like for HUM? Where do you really need to master to hit that main goal? Just to show, basically, I just want to show your thinking on how your thoughts are during a startup. So if there is someone that's looking to start up, they can kind of see how you think, how you brainstorm, how you problem solve, and they can kind of leverage some of your ideas. What are some of those next main steps that you guys need to take to build up to that main goal?
Yeah, main thing for me is expansion. We've got proof of concept that's been validated. We have a lot of success stories, and we don't operate like a typical rideshare company does, which means we don't go to market like a typical rideshare company does.
Yeah.
So the big thing for me is, expand get more people onto the platform, grow the company, do something substantial along the way, and then start bringing in, the custom features along the way. We don't need perfection out of the gate. No company that, we use every day today is a perfect company out of the gate. So, for us, it looks like let's continue expanding. We're going to build along the way as we get more and more users onto our platform. And that naturally will also, tip off some product-led growth where more users come on because, we've got, new features that are built out and, different sub-markets that we can work with. So expansion, revenue, getting more people on is certainly, I had a boss who used to tell me like revenue solves all problems. And I think it's doesn't solve all of them, but it comes pretty darn close.
For sure. Yeah, if you can leverage that capital, you can solve a lot more problems because you bring people in that have the expertise to solve those problems or have the drive to solve those problems like we were talking about earlier. But what's the hardest lesson that you have learned through your journey of entrepreneurship, startups, and business that you wish you knew earlier within your career?
Learned a lot of lessons along the way. I've had some businesses that were, I've had failure to launch businesses and, businesses that have kind of just imploded on themselves. But I think the biggest lesson is that, people think fortune favors the bold and that means they need to have the perfect idea and need to sit in deliberation, sit and continue to brainstorm and solve every problem before they actually take action. Whereas I firmly believe fortune favors those who take action. It doesn't necessarily translate to taking the right action every time, but fortune does favor the individual who continues to iterate and test. And, people say fail fast constantly, but I think what they mean by that is it doesn't mean your business fails fast. It means that you're testing something out. It could be minor, it could be major, and, either works or it doesn't. But when you see something working, that's typically a good signal to lean into it and continue going. And so I think the biggest lesson is just continue testing, continue to iterate, and continue to take action. Get out of the continuous, endless brainstorming sessions and what if scenarios, and really just start finding out instead of thinking what if.
That's a great point. And when you saying that, it always brings me back to marketing. Whether you're doing ads, whether you're doing cold email, whether you're doing cold calling, let's just stick with ads for now. If you have an ad, you're always testing ads to figure out what works and what doesn't. So the markets always shift. Everything always changes. But as soon as you find one that totally works, you're going to push that as hard as you can and get the most results you can out of it. So it's just like running a business. Test. You might have some fallbacks, but you're going to learn from those, and what doesn't work for next time when you do find something that works and really push it. So always go. That reference always takes me back to marketing, and it's just it's the only way. It's the best way that I can explain it. Just with anything within business, test fast, fail fast, but execute even harder, and keep executing until you get the results that you're looking for. Great point. Love that point. How can listeners or potential drivers or riders get involved with HUM? Where can they find more about HUM, and where can they get in contact with you if they wanted to speak with you individually?
Yeah, HUMRideshare.com. You can, if you're in Arizona, you're in Idaho, you're in California, download our app over there. You'll see links to download, whether it's the passenger, rider, or driver app from the App Store and Google Play. We're everywhere. Our social media is just at HUM Rideshare as well. You can find us on Instagram, X, TikTok, YouTube, you name it. And if you need to get in contact with us, a couple channels. You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. I check that from time to time. But if you ever really need to get quick responses, help at HUM Rideshare is where we spend a lot of our time. So, you can reach out to that. We'll make sure, you get responses quickly, swiftly. And we look forward to hearing from everyone. And then if you like us, definitely give us a good review. Follow us on those social media channels. Leave comments. Leave reviews on the App Store and Google Play. Those always help. Because if you like us, we want more people to like us. And that ensures more people get to hear about us.
Sure. And then they get to see the new side of HUM even quicker. Not the new side, but the expanded side of HUM even quicker. And the new products that you guys will be launching soon, which I'm excited to hear about. Chris, thank you for coming on the podcast. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Is there anything more you want to say to the audience before we kind of close things off?
Oh man, nobody's ever lost money on HUM, so if you're thinking about it, you might as well just do it.
Amazing. Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time, sharing your experience within startups, within entrepreneurship, within HUM as well, and kind of giving us your overall journey. So thank you for coming on.
Yes, great meeting you.